Hey guys, Connor Tracy, Big Red SEO. How are you doing? Look at me, shaking the table and everything. Kim is not here today. Kim is in Hawaii, having fun over there. I'm here in Nebraska where it's 3 inches of snow and it's cold. But what are you gonna do? So I had a meeting earlier today. I was talking with a client, and we were going through some updates within their website. And she asked, what are we going to be talking about today on the Facebook Live? So today is WordPress plugins, the new exploits, what you can do to kind of avoid that, and all that kind of fun stuff. And of course, she brought up the thing at the end. You'll probably be there with a whiskey in hand. I'm like, well, I was out last night, so we had a cigar event last night, and I'll tell you about that. But just for you, lovely, and I've got my whiskey. So, couple of quick things. So, we're going to do some WordPress stuff, and I'll deal with that here. Give me 3 minutes. But last night I did a whiskey event. It was a whiskey and cigar event at Sucuri Cigars. And the whiskey that I got to try was Kaiyo, K-A-I-Y-O. It's a Japanese whiskey, and the Japanese market is really big right now. So they were presenting, Olivia Cigars were there, they were handing out stuff. But so I had my fill of Japanese whiskey, but today I'm drinking Cut Spike. Cut Spike is actually made in La Vista, so right here in the Omaha area. Small distillery, small batch. They've won all sorts of awards, 2014, 2016, 2018. They've won all sorts of different things. So, love their brand, love their stuff. Give me more bottles. So anyway, I've got my pour. Hopefully you've got your drink too. We'll take a sip. We'll dig right in and see what's going on, all right? All right. Housekeeping out of the way. One of these buttons, housekeeping. There we go. Okay, so that's Facebook.BigRedSEO, you're already here. Twitter/BigRedSEO, and then YouTube. All the videos that we do go up on there. Some more of the technical stuff goes on to YouTube more than it does here on Facebook. But today, the thing that I wanted to deal with today is WordPress, the security stuff that's going on. There was a report that came out, it was on Tuesday. 2,000 websites were affected by a potential hack. When I started to dig into it a little bit further, it's a lot more than 2,000. My numbers came out. We have 3,000 with one plugin, and there was 7,000 with another plugin. Both of them were released at the same time. And essentially what's going on, we get a lot of questions from people about WordPress and how secure is WordPress, and is it really something that we should be doing? WordPress itself, for the most part, is secure. Okay, they do have stuff that comes out just like Windows does. I saw Microsoft had a big exploit last week. 250 million people affected. Woohoo! Yay! Thanks. But it's as secure as it can be without stuff that actually happens. McAfee put out a report a few years ago that there's 300,000 new infections every day. New stuff that's being done. So there's always that cat and mouse game. Right now, the big thing that's out there, it's an exploit that redirects your website to somewhere else. So I actually found a website. Actually, we had a client contact us saying, I don't know what's wrong. And when I went digging, found that they had one of the exploits that were going on. But essentially what it does, it redirects the user from your website, your normal website, and then redirects out to either in their case it was entering your information, you've won a TV, or you are the 5 billionth search that happened on Google, we're rewarding you. It all looks official, it's all fake, it's all junk. If I'm going to this website, that's what I expect to get, not redirected. But right now, there's two big exploits out there. One is called Simple Fields, and the other one is called CP Contact Form with PayPal. So with the two of them, let me give you just some information about them. The Simple Fields allows you to make new taxonomies and new fields or add-ons within WordPress. The concept behind it is great. We use a different one called ACF, Advanced Custom Fields. We love it. We've used it for many, many years. But Simple Fields hasn't been updated in 4 years. So that's where the problem with all these hacks actually happen. The people install the different plugins. You may or may not be using it, but it's on the site. And then it's never updated. Either you don't update it as a client, or the developer doesn't release an update to take care of vulnerabilities. But to have something on your website that hasn't been updated in 4 years, that's a red flag. You should never be in that situation. Granted, it worked, it did its job, but if something's a year out of date, you probably need to go find a different solution, because it's only a matter of time. So the other plugin was CP Contact Form with PayPal. And basically what this was, it allowed people to set up a contact form on the website and also request payment. It's a great little setup for appointment setting. You know, so you want to set an appointment with somebody, but you want them to pay before the appointment is set. And this form allowed you to do that. There's about 3,000 active installations for that right now. It is exploitable. They have released an update. They released one 4 days ago. So they released an update before the exploit happened. And that's how responsible disclosure happens. A lot of times people will find the hack or find a way to hack something. They'll let the developers know that this is an issue, and then the developers have anywhere between 14 and 30 days to fix it, release a patch, alert their people that, hey, you need to make a patch, and then the exploit is released into the wild. So that's the responsible way of disclosure, but it's not the way it always happens. We know that. So, let's see. So we have that on there. You know, there's been a couple of big updates, big hacks recently. One was DIVI Theme Builder. We used to use DIVI. I like the way they're set up and what they do. We know a lot of people that use it. We work on a lot of websites that still use DIVI. No major complaints about it. It's just not what I prefer, but that's, you know, that's personal preference. But the DIVI theme, they had a big exploit happen in the end of December. And basically, DIVI right now has 1.3 million active installations. They were up to 2 point something there for a while, but they're now at 1.3. But any version less than 4.0.9, you need to make an update. That version and everything prior for the last couple of years is all exploitable. They did do a revamp when they released their 4.0 version back in September, I think it was. But you need to go through, make sure all those updates are done. The other big one that was out earlier in January, it was called GDPR Cookie Compliance. And that had about 73,000 installations. Any version less than 4.0.3 is exploited. Now, the thing that's crazy, and I understand why hackers do it the way they do, like this particular one, the GDP compliance one. So GDP compliance, or GDPR compliance, it was a regulation that came out for Europe that it had to do with information and privacy protection and stuff like that. There's a version that happened in California this year, COPA, I think was the name of it. But basically what it does, it protects the cookies on users' computers, making sure that you're not going to be reusing that or reselling that information to other people, and if you are, you're disclosing that. Okay, so all sounds good and well. So these plugins, what came out, people were making plugins or making pages that would just build like a terms of service or a privacy policy for you. And this was one of the ones that did it. It also allowed that cookies wouldn't be sent with this particular plugin. The bad thing is, you would normally think it's okay. GDPR compliance, anybody in Europe, you have to use it. Therefore, you go get a plugin, you plug it in, you hope for the best. They had a massive exploit. 73,000 websites were exploited on that. Or 73,000 websites had it installed. That doesn't mean all of them were exploited. It just means that the potential for the exploit was there if people didn't update. All right. So, the ones that are going on right now, those redirects that are happening, if you see your website redirecting to somewhere else that it shouldn't be, you got a problem. You can see some of that yourself. We of course can do a lot more deeper digging. We can get in there and figure all that out for you. But basically it's redirecting to a couple different places: ads for market, ad market location, ad market search, and go to second. Those are the main places that it's redirecting to. Now, Google and Bing and all those guys get involved also, and they try to mitigate some of the exploits by not letting those websites actually resolve, not show up. So they contact registrars and all that kind of stuff and kind of get those websites shut down. But the exploit is still there. And what happened with this particular exploit was it's a JavaScript injection. So inside of WordPress, when you're working inside of WordPress, under the appearance, there's a section in there that allows you to do a theme edit. And you can edit the files within your WordPress site directly inside of WordPress admin. And that's what this piece actually exploited. It basically overrode the permissions. It was able to upload a file. Once they uploaded that, they had a backdoor. Now they could basically do any edit for any file. Okay. The big one that was infected is theme-editor. So once that one was exploited, everything else then kind of fell in line. So there's things you can do to prevent that, and that's one of the big things out of my job that I do is looking at security and prevention and trying to keep all of that in check. But one of the things that you can do on there is disable the theme editor. Not just remove it from the menu, actually disable it. You can also not password protect the folders, but you can restrict the editing ability to not allow global rights, that you have to upload the files by FTP. So the good and the bad out of that, a lot of people, they're going to say, well, now my job for making all the updates has become even more complicated. I can't just edit it right there. Now I've got to upload an FTP file and put it in the right folder and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, you do. But if you're dealing with security, you got to go those extra steps. So suck it up. Get it done. All right. So as you can tell, I'm flying through this. Without Kim here, I just have my bullet point list of things that are on my ideas of what's going on. But there have been a number of different exploits that are going on, especially with inside of WordPress. Drupal had a handful of things going on, but WordPress itself, that's just the field that I'm in currently and have been for the last 15 years. So we track, when we do installations for our clients, we track every plugin that is within their website. We track what the version was that was installed, when it was updated to the next version, and if there's any exploits out there. I've written software that basically queries different databases on the web and then also searches, hacker forums and things like that for anybody mentioning the words exploit, WordPress, hack, variations of that. And that software, it runs every hour, and then I get an alert if anything happens, and then we cross-check that against our database, and we can usually get ahead of the game to be in contact with our clients to let them know this is a problem, we need to get this taken care of before it becomes a hack. So it's all that preventative maintenance end of things. But there's a couple of places that we use, and you can use them too. They're online, they're freely available sources. You just go there, you type in what the plugin names that you have, and it'll tell you, yes or no, it's infected or it's not infected. One of the places that I use quite a bit is called WPVULDB, and it's the WordPress Vulnerability Database. And they track as many plugins as possible. So our software checks against their database to see what the latest version is. It then checks it off against the WordPress plugins to see what the latest version is available to download, and then checks it against the client's websites to see what version has been installed. Is it a critical issue? Is it a concern? Or is this something that can be done in maintenance down the road? Inside of your WordPress site, you can install multiple different plugins to monitor plugins. One of the popular ones that we use is WordFence. WordFence not only checks your plugins and checks your security, but it also monitors anybody trying to get into your website. If somebody keeps entering in a username or a fake user over and over again, or they're trying to log in with admin, administrator, or anything like that, it tracks their IP and then blocks them out of the system. So you get X amount of attempts to log in, and after that it blocks you for a certain amount of time, or it does a permanent block. For me, on my websites that I deal with, If you're entering in and it's a wrong name, I block you instantly. If you're trying to log in with admin, I block you instantly, because we don't have an admin user. We never had, the word admin was never a user. So if anybody is trying to log in with that, they're trying to find an exploit. So instant, we block them, get rid of it. That doesn't keep them away 100%. They can use proxies and they can still get into the websites or view the websites from different places, but that's a different story. So WordFence, love it. They've got a free version, they've got a paid version. Go to wordpress.org/plugins, download WordFence, put it into your website, and you're good to go for 90% of the time. They'll send you alerts when they check against their database of any plugins that are out of date within your site. So you can sign up for that. It's all free. The other one that we use on a regular basis is called Sucuri, Securi. Again, they have a plugin. It does vulnerability scans. It can go through everything for you. But you can go online. If you do a search in Google, it's Sucuri Site Check. And if you do a search over there, you can enter in what your website is, and they'll do a scan of your website from the remote end of things. Without being logged into your site, they can scan it. There's a handful of places that we use that do that. I love Sucuri because of the amount of data that they give back. Some of it is false positives. It's just stuff you have to look at, but they are usually pretty good about detecting, especially JavaScript injections and things like that. But the other ones we use, Google Safe Browsing. There is a website for it. You just go type that into Google, you'll find the URL. You can type in your domain and it'll do a check against it to see, is there any issues within your website? Have other people reported vulnerabilities of plugins that you're using in your website? So it'll check all of that for you. Not just WordPress, but multiple different systems. The other one that we use, there's two others. One is UpGuard Cloud Server Scanner. Can't read my writing. UpGuard Cloud Scanner. I have bookmarks. I don't type this in every time. So leave me alone. But you can, again, go there, type in your domain name, they'll do the scan. The other place, URL query URL scanner. So URL query is one word, URL, and then scanner is two more words. They'll do remote scans and they'll check against your website and see what's going on. There's other plugins. Is it WP? Is it WP Site Search? If you type that in, it'll do some basic checks and tell you whether it's a WordPress problem or it's something else. So is it WordPress, WP? And then WP Scans is another one that we use from time to time. It just does a different type of scan. So when we do our website management, website maintenance, things like that, these are the things that we put inside of our task lists. Either manual tasks that have to be done on a regular basis, or they're automated tasks that happen either every couple of hours or every hour with regards to the database scan that's done every hour. The big thing, I don't want to say the only way to recover from a hack, but the best way to recover from a hack is having a backup and restoring the backup. Over the years, we have stressed backups. You have to make backups on a regular basis. And that is the cleanest way of getting back to a working environment. You can go in, you can modify code, you can go in there and tweak with that and get rid of the hacks that way. But it's never as clean as before. You never know if something was left over. You'd have to run diff scans and things like that, which we do. But that process takes a lot longer. You're not talking it's a 1 hour job and everything is fixed. You're talking 4, 5, 10 hours later. Depending on your website and depending on the data that you need, sometimes you don't really have a choice. I've dealt with that years ago. We had a hard drive that failed. It had, I think it was 80 different websites that were on it. But the hard drive was also backed up to a secondary drive, so the users or the internet never saw that there was a problem. But we had our own internal concerns that, hey, we have a backup of it here, but it's already failed. What do we do? And we had a company that would do data recovery, and they recovered the hard drive. It cost a couple $100 to get it done, but it allowed us to have that peace of mind that, hey, yeah, we've got the live version, yes, we have the backups, and now we have the recovered version of those backups. And I make backups the way, so let me preface this. So here's your sales pitch if you want to attribute it as that. So we do WordPress management, WordPress maintenance, the plugin updates and backups, and that's a monthly service that we offer. You can do it monthly, 6 months, do it for a year, get a discount. Okay, and in that, when we do our backups, we have a backup that runs once a week. We have a backup that runs once a month, and those backups are stored for several months. Do you need to store 3 months worth of backups? Probably not, but you know, hard drive space is cheap, so why wouldn't you? You know, I have backups of websites from a year ago. We have backups for clients that we've worked with, you know, 3-4 years ago, and I have a backup of their website. We had somebody contact us a few months ago and said, hey, my website's been off for the last 2 years. I went in a different direction. I'm now back. I want to restart it. Do you happen to have a backup, or are we building a new site from scratch? No, I got a backup. We just need to get it done. So secure some time on the books, and then we do that. So if you're interested in doing any kind of WordPress management kind of system, drop me an email, drop me a note. We'll get that on the schedule for you. But essentially, we monitor all the plugins, we monitor the WordPress, we make sure those are all updated. We do things different than other places in that we test the updates on a staging site before just launching it out to the wild. That way then, if your website does have an issue with a particular update, not everybody in the world sees it. It's only in the development environment. So that is one of the reasons that we go that direction. You can, of course, go into WordPress, select all the plugins, hit update, and cross your fingers, hold your breath. It might work, and it should work most of the time, but those times when it doesn't work and you don't have a backup, or you haven't made a backup in a long time, you know, you'll feel the pain. You will feel the pain, either emotionally for whatever ever has disappeared, or financially because now you got to rebuild everything. So, but anyway, that's the end of the sales pitch. You know, there you go. I don't know what else I've got on my list here. Oh, the reasons for all these plugin outdates or the exploits is because people don't make the updates. It's always either a WordPress plugin that's out of date, it's a WordPress core itself that hasn't been updated. Sometimes it can be your browser was infected, and then when you logged into the admin, it automatically inserted things. That's a rare case, but we have seen that happen. Sometimes it's passwords. You know, you have a password that is too easy to guess, or you're using your kid's name or your dog's name or whatever it is. Those are too easy to guess. You need to use more secure versions. I use a place called Password Generator. I can choose to have whether it's 8 characters or 64 characters, and it'll make random string in there for you. So the Password Generator is what I use, or Random Password Generator. I use that all the time. But that is essentially everything that I have on my list. Like I said, whiskey stuff. I mean, I had a blast last night learning all sorts of new things. The Japanese whiskey market is insane. This particular one, the Kaiyo, the way they operate, if you have questions, hit them up. But the way that the Japanese whiskey is done, by law, it's kind of like with bourbon. You can't call it bourbon if it's not made in Bourbon County, you know, for whiskey out of Tennessee or Kentucky and that whole region down there. But the way that the Japanese whiskey is done is that the barrels must be made out of a specific tree. Well, the tree can only be cut after it's 200 years old. Okay. The tree is then waterlogged, so you can't char the barrels. Okay. That's become even more. This is why the Japanese whiskey is so expensive. So you've got a 200-year-old tree that's then cut down to make a barrel. The barrel can only be used one time and then must be destroyed. That is how they've had it all set up. So that's why it gets so expensive. The secondary part of things that just fascinated me, because of real estate being a premium in Japan, they don't have a place to store whiskey. So you look at the whiskey warehouses here in the U.S., you look at Jack Daniels and they've got 50,000 barrels in a barn and, you know, just giant places. One of them went on fire a couple years ago, broke my heart, but it's what it is. But Japan doesn't have that real estate. So they put everything into the barrels and then they put it on a ship and then let that bounce around the ocean for 6 to 8 months. The neat effect out of it is that it speeds up the entire process. Instead of something having to wait for 10 years, 14 years before you can drink those whiskeys or release them to the public, they're doing 6 months to 12 months. So after that time comes back on, you pick up salt notes and things like that out of it because it's been in the ocean air. So really neat. It's a fast way of doing it in terms of the processing time being 6 to 12 months. I mean, that's awesome. But then you've got to find a tree that's 200 years old, and they, you know, they take a while to regenerate. So right now we are seeing that market kind of increase. I got Brian in here. What do you say? Did you get a bottle of the something whiskey? There's a red dot. I had Fire and Cane last night. That's I can't remember who makes it now, but I had that last night too. But today anyway, it's Cut Spike. So if you're around later today, Brian, we're doing Cut Spike tonight. So. All right, that's it. That's all I got for you. That's the WordPress plugin updates. That's the Facebook Live without Kim here. This is how my Facebook Lives go. It's a little more drab than when Kim's here and has all that energy and woohoo. So anyway, she'll be back for next week. I'll still be here next week too. Meanwhile, I'll go shovel snow and do all that kind of fun stuff. So let's see what I got here. Here's the social media stuff again. You're following us on Facebook already. Awesome, thank you. Twitter.com/BigRedSEO. That's our Twitter handle over there. And then YouTube.com/BigRedSEO. Much more of the technical videos go there, but every one of these go there too. And it's also in a higher quality. So if you want to see my face in full 4K, you can. That's on YouTube. All right, guys. I think that's all I got. If you got questions, go ahead and put them in the comments. I will answer them. If you're looking to do a sign up on the management thing, go ahead and fill out the form on our website or drop me a call, 402-522-6468. That is the business line, 402-522-6468. I ran out of breath. Sorry. But drop me a call, drop us an email. We'll get it all squared away for you. All right. That's it. Have a great day. Thank you. Bye now.